So far we've seen UAG, ESR, Rockform and even Banks. But what about Ringke? This year they even have a new case called the Rugged Gear. So let's start with that one. The Rugged Gear is a mix between the Fusion X and the Onyx in my opinion. It's not as strong as the Fusion X because it's still bendable like the Onyx. The texture on the backplate is rougher than on the Onyx, but the corners look a lot like the Fusion X. It features one of those closed camera bumps too, where the spaces in between the camera lenses are covered up. There is still a hard plastic ring around the set of lenses, so it's protected well. Now, even though it has those small corner pieces, it does not have that one on the Fusion X, which is as high as the camera bump, so it will still wobble a little. Therefore, I think it's mostly an aesthetic thing. Now, as far as the camera control button is concerned, they made a top cutout here with sloped edges around it, which are a little bigger than usual, and they are great. They also got rid of that dotted pattern there, so it's all smooth around it. There's more than enough room to use it, but the corners are a little too big, so you would have to use it with your hand over the screen a little bit. I had that issue with more bulkier cases like UAG as well. It isn't ideal. The other buttons are all really nice, but lack the clicky tactile feeling, because only the power button has that. The action and volume buttons don't really have that, and are even a little harder to press. Good cutouts for the USB-C port and the speakers. The fit is very snug, but also still easily removable, and there's also more than enough front protection. This is a great case, and especially since Ringke only has amazing prices. This one will set you back only 20 USD or 27 with the Magsafe magnets. Moving on to the Onyx. This one has an even snugger fit, and because of the small front edge, it's kind of annoying to get it off since those will dig into your fingers a little. Now, I prefer the fit on the previous case or on the Fusion X. It also has harder to press buttons, so not the clicky tactile buttons we're used to. But the camera control button is easily usable due to the less out there corner protection. This has always been the less bulky variant, and that's noticeable here too. Now, even though it's not as visible as I would have hoped to show you, the texture on the backplate does feel a little different than the previous case, but both are very grippy. I just think that this one is a little smoother for some reason. One thing I hate that they brought back too is those tiny rings on each lens. They are sharp and don't look as good, and since the bump is already out there, why not utilize those? I would much rather have them flush with the case or a little lower inside that backplate / camera bump, which is already present. Front protection is good, even though, like I said, the edge is a little thin and sharp feeling. I like what they did with the height though, since it sort of swells up at the top and bottom, making it easier to swipe across the screen in the middle, since it's almost not present there. Good Magsafe strength, and since it's not visible from the outside, it looks sleek too. On the 16 series, the camera bump is better since it's just one ring around two lenses instead of each lens having their own. They also did not make a huge square cutout and just left it to the necessary parts, which also looks much better. Funny thing is, the buttons on the 16 series variant are much clickier than the 16 Pro Max, and I'm not sure why. Then there's also the Fusion Bold. Pretty much exactly the same as the Onyx, but with a clear back and a good camera bump instead of those hard plastic rings. This camera bump has proper material as well. All the buttons except for the action button are clicky, so that's good, but it's very curious since it's exactly the same case. Makes you wonder. The transition from the clear backplate to the grippy sides feels seamless, so awesome too, and it features the same camera control cutout, making it very useful. Even though not a whole lot of corner protection present on this one, relatively speaking, it still has the slimmed down sides with the dotted pattern here too. Like I said, pretty much identical. Now, I nearly forgot my Ringke Fusion X, which is still among my favorites. It's still great after so many generations, and not much has changed actually, which is a good thing. The camera bump has that corner piece next to it, which will allow it to lay flat on a table. The fit is perfect, feels great and rounded in the hand, even though it may look like another bulky case. That's just not the case here. It may look rugged, but it's not bulky at all. It even feels slim. All very clicky buttons. And due to the clear back, I don't really mind the closed camera bump, since I will still get to look at my color iPhone. Front protection is more than enough, and this case is also available in a non-Magsafe version and the one with magnets. Not sure whether you want to go for the one without, but hey, at least you have the option. Camera control is pretty much identical to the Fusion Bolt, so a cutout from the top works great, and I can definitely recommend this case for the new series iPhones as well. Now, Ringke also has that silicone case still, which I absolutely loved, but I had some issues with. My main issue was with the color black. That one gets dirty so quick, it's unbelievable. My recommendation would be to skip that color. As good as it may look, it's not worth it. This stone color doesn't have that problem though, and it also looks great with the Desert Titanium iPhone. Although the only piece where you would still see the color is on the camera control cutout, which is very comfortable by the way. That soft silicone really does wonders here, but it's also its biggest flaw, since they opted for a weak connecting piece which compromised the nearby corner, which is easily slapped off. The other corners, not at all. So they did fix the fit issue I had with the previous gen silicone case, which is great to see. Just a little sad to see that now this new button is its main issue, since it's really comfortable to use, which is mostly where my criticism comes from. But now it's the corner piece that has less strength because of it. Now, how big of an issue is that? I don't think it's a huge problem, to be honest. It would need to fall exactly on that corner and exactly right to slap it off, and the fit isn't loose. It's just easier, relatively speaking, to the other corners. Just something to note, but not something which is a major red flag on this case. I'd also prefer an open camera bump here to show a little more of the color of your iPhone. But this aesthetic is also pretty cool. Very clicky buttons, which I love to see. And another thing I've noticed is that they cut the USB-C port a little too straight. And now it's sort of sharp-ish, which is exactly what you don't want to have happen, because that's where the phone rests on your hand. So they need a little sloped edges there too, or at least not straight cuts into the silicone. The 16 series does have that same problem as well, so it's not just my unit on the 16 Pro Max. It's most likely an outer shell of silicone with a plastic core, and that's exactly the point where the two meet. Still, very good case though, but these are my observations with this generation silicone case. And then finally, there's of course the clear cases. The Fusion,
Let's try that again.
The Fusion Matte, and the Magsafe version. They all feature soft sides, which are nice in the hand, but will eventually yellow. So even though these cases aren't really expensive, that's something you would need to know before purchasing them. It's just inevitable. If you really want that clear case look, you may want to look at the Fusion Bolt or the Fusion X. Those are amazing, and because the sides aren't transparent, they won't yellow either. Still, the fit on these is excellent, they have good camera bumps and even that 16 series unique shape, and the camera control cutout is just excellent too. Probably one of the best shapes, since here the edge of the iPhone is also visible, making it very comfortable to use. And it's not just a top cutout. The Magsafe strength is also really good, so for the money it's great value. I also love that matte version, which blurs the color a little. Awesome effect. That's it as far as Ringke goes this year. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. And make sure you subscribe to stay notified of my next video, because we're getting closer and closer to the tier list and the top 10.